I would like to welcome all of you online. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you from wherever you might be joining us. I would like to welcome you to this GFOI information exchange session. This is the third. We had session on Focus with Africa, as well in the Asia Pacific, and today the informations exchange session will be focused on Latin American and the Caribbean. And all the work GFOI partners and countries have been doing in the past 12 months. So I would like to thank all of you who have registered and who are eagerly awaiting to hear all the works done by our partners. We are expecting to see maybe all of you, if not all, I mentioned at the beginning, but very happy to see that over 250 people have registered for today's session, and I see more and more joining the call. My name is Ellie Reed. Most of you know me, and today I will be facilitating the webinar, filling in for Tom, the GFOI manager, who could not be available today. We've got a list of speakers, and you will see here the last minute we were still hoping to get everybody on board, but we will have really fewer. So we'll have presentations from FAO, which will be given to us by Maria Carmen, then Silva Carbon. We'll have our colleagues Sylvia Wilson and Craig Wason. Then the World Bank, I honestly still haven't heard. Maybe the World Bank and ICOA would manage to join, and if not, we will have a presentation by Emil with focus on Servier. The way these calls are organized, we will have all presentation one after the other. We encourage the presenters to share their screen and then to give the presentation. If you have shared your presentation with us, then we can do it on our end. And once we finish with all the presentations, we'll open the floor for discussions. In the meantime, please feel free to send any questions to the Q&A, to the chat session. If there's something, if you have any technical issues, let us know if we could help. If you have questions for the presenters, write them there. While they're still on your mind, where you're listening to the presentation, we'll do our best and our presenters to answer them as soon as they finish their presentation, and if not, at the end, when we open the floor for the discussion. So I hope that's all clear. We are really excited to hear about our partners' work through the past 12 months in the LAC region. We have scheduled the presentations for roughly 10 minutes. As you can see, we'll have fewer people, so please, for all of you presenters, feel free to take the time needed to give your presentation. If it's shorter, it's fine. If it's longer, absolutely fine. And at the end, we'll have enough time for a discussion. So without any further ado and taking time from what's most important here is to hear from our partners in their work, I will stop sharing my screen and I would like to introduce Maria Carmen Ruiz from FAO, and she will tell us all the work FAO has been doing. Thank you and welcome, Maria Carmen.
Thanks for introducing me. Yes, good morning, good afternoon. I'm very happy to be able to share the work we have been doing in the region as part of the Red Plus NFM team of FAO. So we so first my screen is shared, no? I just double checking.
We can share the screen, but do you think you can make it into a presentation mode?
Oh, it's not presentation.
At least okay. I don't see it in presentation. Maybe it's on my end.
Okay, no, okay. Let me try. Now?
For me, it's still the same.
It is in presentation mode.
Is it? Okay, then it's
yes.
online. Yeah, great. Thank you.
So most of the intervention that we do in Latin America is part of the UN RED program. that is a collaborative program between FAO, UNEP, and UNDP. But we are gonna focus the intervention we do in MRV, which is led by FAO. I also will present, this is also part collaborative of also the program of CPAL that is funded by NICFI. And there's some projects too that are GEF projects that are CBIT projects of national CBIT projects and some national projects of the Green Climate Fund. So most of the focus that we have been working on is helping countries have the registry document for our trees, where we have been supporting specifically Ecuador and Peru in this registration to have better estimates of emissions of deforestation and also forest degradation. We also have been doing a lot of work on helping countries to estimate uncertainties, quality control, and in general estimations, having better, more efficient estimates of deforestation and forest degradation, and also having, for example, having a more sophisticated, let's say, estimating of uncertainties using Monte Carlo, where we have support, Mexico, Ecuador, Peru, and Chile in this. There's been also focus on capacity building of activity data to use the platform of CPAL, which is a online platform that support countries to do different estimates of land use change. And so there's been support of making better mosaics of the images and helping decision-making trees, quality control of the data, and mostly have been, I think I put just Mexico, no, Ecuador and Mexico, yes. We have done that to government officials in Ecuador and Mexico. We also have been supporting Colombia in be able to monitor their forest restoration programs. And in order to do that is checking on how the best way for the government to estimate changes of the impact of restoration projects. And so this is an ongoing activity that we have been supporting, and we're going to continue this year. We also support Colombia to do their forest reference level. They have, that was the second forest reference level that they submit. Second, I think, so they recently submitted last month, and also we have been supporting countries also for enhancing the transparency framework of the Paris Agreement, Article 13, and on that we have been supporting Cuba and Nicaragua, and having, like certain institutional arrangements for different institutions that work with the AFOLU sector, and also having making online platform so the information is available online on the estimation of this sector, the AFOLU, but also support countries on having better institutional arrangement for the LULUCF framework and LULUCF sector, and MRV in general for estimation of forest land use change, and that we have support Panama in that. We also have been, there's been recently countries have have been having the needs, because we have been supporting countries in estimates of degradation of in general, forest degradation, deforestation, better estimate of restoration. But recently, there's been more needs of having their MRVs at multiple scales because of nesting. So we have been starting support in Chile, Colombia, and Peru in helping them to have to be able to support it, like at the national level and also at the project level, depending on the different possibilities of countries to receive funding for results of reducing deforestation and forest degradation. So there's also last year we did very interesting and successful exchange in forest degradation. We did this event in November last year in Colombia, where we have 23 specialists that gather of 7 countries. And we have specialists from FAO, but also the Silva Carbon also support in this event. And I had to say that because we try to have not only focusing on activity data, but also for emission factors, and try to see like we're having people from countries that were having expertise in analyzing land use change with the imagery data, but also people that were specialized in national forest inventories. So the take-home message, the most important, I would say, take-home message that came from this workshop, with this exchange, it was how countries are defining forest degradation. That was still not a simple task, and to be able to have very clear definition, to have reliable estimates. Also was important is to countries will have steady, constant, free access satellite imagery that can have high resolution, so they be able to see the forest degradation. So that was one of the things, because they make sure that they will have protocols that it may include, for example, Landsat imagery, instead of having like high resolution like Planet, for example, and they were prefer to keep the Landsat to ensure that they will have this availability of imagery. But then, so it's important to have the combination of, for example, Landsat and Planet for countries to have better estimates of forest degradation. Also, there was a very clear the importance that degradation needs information from the ground. So and in general, deforestation and degradation monitoring will be more efficient and reliable if they integrate quality data from terrestrial data. So there is very important the link with national forest inventories can provide for this estimate. So the other we have been there was been big focus on because the importance of national forest inventory. There is been a network of national forest inventories that is been growing in Latin America. And now there's 17 countries that are part of this network, and they have their board decided, and it's been focused mostly on harmonize the definition of forest and definition of volume and biomass. That they are starting to do the discussion in this. There's also, this was presented in the Latin American Caribbean Forestry Commission of FAO, that's called COFLAC, there was a side event on this network that had like a positive feedback from countries in the region. And in this year, in the GFOI, there will be a side event of this network. So this is an ongoing effort that is being very important for countries, that they discuss a lot of challenges that they have in their national forest inventories. So there's also, we had last year we start a new project of FAO and the UK government, this Aim for Forest, that is a global project that for 5 years, global project that will specifically will have help in general countries and in different tools for supporting having better high integrity MRVs for decision making and policy. But then specifically 12 countries, they were aiming to support 20 countries in the globally. But in Latin America, the countries that already have been starting receiving some support, at least starting to plan the support, or for example, already giving, for example, in Brazil, there's been support on having better estimates, having like the better estimate for national forest inventories, having like a new sampling for the national forest monitoring, or Peru that was more was focused on having what are the different needs and requirements for MRV, for example, of different standards for like BERRA standard, for archery arteries, so that the country will know how if they were ready for each standard or not, for example, and then they will, if they will do nesting for the national forest monitoring system. And also one of the in Peru that is something that is already been supported by this project is the preparation for countries to the new regulation of the EU on reducing deforestation for value chains on certain commodities. So that was to see like how the existing national forest monitoring system, it will able to monitor the compliance of this regulation. So there's this project is ongoing, it's just started, and GFOI, the team of GFOI is supporting very strongly the support specifically for countries. In Latin America, they started in Guatemala. So there's another project that started, that's been having a previous stage, but then it's been recently started, but then we just want to say that new things will come. Is the CVIT forest. This project is funded by the GEF, and this was going to be more the focus. Well, is based on the enhanced transparency framework, but one of the things that are more will be a lot of focus is having transparent data for national forest inventories, having it available. For example, even considering not only like the results, but also micro data of the national forest inventories. So and then also they will be courses that will be online courses that will support countries in the National Forest Inventories, support the National Forest Inventory Network that I mentioned before, and having other activity. The previous stage can generate several knowledge products that support countries to have like e-learning platforms that help countries to do in their own pace, but also could be made in a guided online courses. So yeah, so this is what I kind of like in a nutshell, more or less, what we have been doing and where we will continue and look forward to work. So thank you very much.
Ellie, should I put my slides up?
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry, Sylvia. Actually, my Zoom just crashed, but I'm back. We would like to go back, and we have actually Ederson join us. So if you mentioned something at the beginning that you need to be leaving sharp at the hour, if you would like, if you need to present, go ahead, and after that, we'll have Ederson with his presentation, if that's okay with him as well.
That's okay with me. Is that okay with Ederson?
Yeah. Ederson, would it be okay if you present after Sylvia and Craig, after the Silver Carbon presentation?
Yes, it's okay for me also. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, Maria Carmen, thank you so much for your presentation. This is fascinating. As you can imagine, me being the GFOI COP person, I am very psyched to hear a lot about all of the work that FAO has been doing, but very, very curious about Aim4Forests and all the work done. But as I said at the beginning, we will go through all the presentations, and then at the end, we will have time for discussions. And in the meantime, I'd like to encourage all of you, please put your questions for the presenters in the Q&A, and we will address them right after that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna put the full screen, Ellie, here.
Thanks, and sorry for the dog.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Sylvia. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Sylvia Wilson from USGS and the Silver Carbon Program. I'm putting up this presentation. We're two people in the Silver Carbon that are presenting today, Craig Wason from the Forest Service and myself. And if you're not familiar with the Silver Carbon Program, it's a capacity building program that helps about 30 countries now building their monitoring systems for reporting carbon emissions. And on the side of the slide, you'll see all the agencies that are involved in Silver Carbon capacity building transfer. We're representing two of those agencies, the ones that do most of the implementation work in terms of capacity development, Forest Service and USGS, but we are very well coordinated with the rest of the agencies mentioned here. I'm presenting part of what the USGS program does, which is in coordination and collaboration with other partners of GFOI and of course with the US Forest Service as well. So we've been working globally, including Latin America, with 6 universities pretty much. Boston University, University of Maryland, Oregon State University, McGill, Wageningen, and then University of California, Los Angeles in collaboration with NASA GPL. And the purpose of working with those universities is that we work on a little bit on the research side, but also the implementation side of new and upcoming research in countries. So all of these people mentioned here in this slide are actually going to countries, providing capacity building in forms of workshops or one-on-one collaboration with country officials. So globally, but including Latin America, we have 4 areas, main areas for capacity building now. And I'm sorry, this slide is in Spanish. I start translating the slides and then I got tired, so I have half in Spanish, half in English. One of the areas is reporting standards. Then the second one is deforestation alerts. Then emission factors assisted with remote sensing data and mangroves monitoring and measurement. So we have worked in Latin America in these 4 areas since 2022. And we do it by putting together regional workshops, but also working with the specific countries in all of those. So for the mangroves mapping and monitoring, we have done some regional workshops in Guatemala and Peru during the past year. And in deforestation alerts, we have worked specifically with Paraguay, Guatemala, and Mexico. In the REDD+ standards, we have published an e-learning in collaboration with FAO and TNC and WWF. And we have done pretty much online consultations, although the Forest Service has another program, I'm not sure if Craig is gonna mention it, that specifically work on financing for countries. And then we have worked with University of Maryland in Paraguay in emission factors assisted with satellite data. And I will go a little bit into all of these now. So first, we have done more work on mangroves, monitoring and mapping. And that is because if you have your mangroves classified as forests, then it goes into the REDD reporting, versus if you have them classified as wetlands, then it goes into your full greenhouse gas inventory reporting, but you cannot duplicate or move them between categories. So we have worked with many countries globally that have been classifying their mangroves as forests. And the work we're doing is usually presenting some guidance on how the classification goes, what's better for them in terms of classify them as forests or classify them as wetlands. What are the benefits, financial benefits? Are they go into forest reporting or will they go into blue carbon reporting? And what are the difference between those 2 reporting scenarios? And then we'll work with them on the remote sensing component. So for these workshops, they have a very high field component. We go into the field, and mangroves have most of the carbon is underground. So we collect coarse soil samples. We send, in some cases, the samples to be analyzed, and we come up with the full emission factors from below ground and above ground, and then we do the remote sensing training as well to combine it all. So there is 3 steps, right? We do the background, we do the remote sensing component in a few days, in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. Then we go to the ground, collect all this data, usually in 2 days as well, and then we do the integration. These are demonstration workshops, so of course we're not collecting data for all the mangroves area, but we have a couple of plots where we do these demonstrations, and then we leave the equipment with the countries, and then the countries can start doing that on their own. And the interesting part of these workshops is that it brings together government entities in countries that for Silva Carbon we were not working with them, like national parks or institutions where the mangroves mandate follow under. So we have been learning a lot in these 2 past years how to work integrating data from those institutions as well. So it has been a good experience in both ends. And for the remote sensing side, which is where we put most of the emphasis, we work a lot with FAO through CIPA. And I also want to mention that all the work we have done is in support of Silva Carbon, but also we're partnering with the CEOs, the Committee of Earth Observation Satellite. And the purpose of partnering with CEOs is because CEOs have an initiative called the Global Stocktake, and there is a piece of the Global Stocktake which is the follow side. And with that initiative, what we're trying to do with a group of CEOs is see if there are global products that can be customized and adapt in countries. So the remote sensing part that we're doing with the Silva Carbon workshops is looking at different global products that the group of CEOs have through different universities or partners, and adapt them into national into the national data. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's more difficult. But with platforms like CPAL and Google Earth Engine, we have been able to get into that point, and not at the national, but at the jurisdictional, small level with mangroves at least. So we have worked closely with University of California, Los Angeles in Google Earth Engine, and they have mangrove maps that they have generated as well, and with a group of CEOs too on this. So we have one workshop in Guatemala in August of 2023, and one in Tumbes. I'm only presenting the ones in Latin America. The one in Tumbes in November, this past November. For the one in Guatemala, this is an ongoing effort. For the one in Peru, it was more like a demonstration. For the one in Guatemala, we're going to have a couple more follow-ups to see if they can include the mangroves ecosystems into their reporting for REDD. So we left the equipment with them. We show all the methods, and they're going to be collecting data for the rest of their mangroves area. We're coming back to Guatemala this year to do some training on the remote sensing and the integration of the remote sensing data with the ground-based data that they should have by September this year. So that will be a good demonstration of how we just the capacity building that we do, it comes to an end product. And what Guatemala wants to do is to see if they can include that as a jurisdictional reporting for the mangroves area. Okay, the next area that we have is deforestation alerts. And for this area, we work very closely with Wageningen University, the World Research Institute, and other partners of GFOI. And this is a roadmap. We start with regional workshops. And I understand this is not only Latin America, but it has been very focused on Latin America because we have actually three efforts on Latin America. But the purpose of this roadmap was to host workshops, also to collect some data for countries and collect some input, discuss the uses and best scenarios for using deforestation alerts, integration of methods of deforestation alerts in different platforms, and at the end of this year, hopefully come up with some guidance. And we are working on some guidance that it will be another chapter for the MGD, for the GFOI MGD book. We're working with the office, and we're working with WRI and Wageningen University leading this initiative. So for deforestation alerts, we have worked in Mexico, Paraguay, and Guatemala. And in Mexico, we have the optical data alerts through the Global Forest Watch, and then we did training through CPAL as well. But then the RAD alerts, which are the alerts from radar data that Wageningen University developed, were included with a different name into the CPAL platform. So now in Mexico, they can be combining these two alerts, these two different sensors alerts. Then for these workshops also, we have a field visit, but the field visit is just to see a comparison of the alerts, different alert systems, and how do they detect the change, the lag time between when the change occurred and when the system detected. And so different aspects of each of the systems to see which one will work better, or a combination of those will work better. So also the alerts have different uses. So for the three countries here, we have different scenarios. For Guatemala, the alerts were mostly done to monitor legal deforestation in concessions. to monitor the amount of the wood that is taken at one time, but those concessions are legal. There's not for illegal deforestation. In Paraguay, it was more for illegal deforestation, for marijuana plantations, and in Mexico, it's also for plantations of guacamole or those commodities. There is a comparison. There is a paper that is coming up from my colleague Paul Berkowitz at USGS comparing these different methods. And I think he's comparing like 6 different alert systems and how do they respond to different scenarios. And we have done that in those 3 countries and other countries from Asia as well. So I will be sharing the paper when these come up. Okay, so I think, yeah, I have 2 more minutes to talk about this, and then I will pass it to my colleague Craig. The upcoming events for 2024 in Latin America, it's keeping with the training on mangrove mapping and monitoring, and we're gonna do one of those in Belize. But we went with FAO to a scoping trip in Belize late in 2023, and we wrote some scope of work on some of the things that we can do collaborating with different partners of GFOI. One of those was working with the GFOI office with the CIBIT, 4 Aims program. And we will share that with, I think, Gabriela Nunez, who is leading this initiative as well. But we will have one of the things that we will do for sure is a specific workshop for Belize on mangroves mapping and monitoring. Same thing that we have done with other countries. And then with deforestation alerts, we have another case study coming with Costa Rica. And as I mentioned, we have the GFOI guidance that it will include case studies from Guatemala, Brazil, and Colombia as well in Latin America. Then for the REDD+ standards and financing, we'll have a workshop coming up this year in Colombia, and this workshop will bring countries from Latin America. There will be Paraguay, Belize, I think Ecuador, and Peru. And the purpose of this workshop it will be like identifying where are the financing mechanisms and the standards these countries are looking at, and just either see, the benefits of applying for a BERA or using, different standards. This will be led mostly by our partners in Colombia, but we will bring together these countries. And then after that, we'll have online consultations. We pretty much want to understand the status on the reporting standards on each of these countries and see how we can assist further. And then last is the emissions factors assisted with satellite data. We did have only one of those case studies in Paraguay, and there was a paper from Eric Bullard that came up of that initiative. However, we're doing this with the JEDAR data, and the JEDAR satellite is not in orbit yet. The instrument is not there yet, but it will be functional again. So we're looking at, with SEALs, we're looking at different biomass maps that have been made by different people and see how they adapt to countries and how they can be validated and integrated into the emissions factors component of reporting. But it's very complicated because we're talking about different ways to estimate accuracy and different uncertainty for each of these maps. So this category of capacity building is pretty much on the researchy side. And upcoming is a meeting in Washington, D.C. with a bunch of statisticians that are looking at uncertainties on these biomass maps and to see how they can be applied in countries to augment or support the national forest inventory. But we have not done any other capacity building workshops because, like I say, it's very researchy, so there is not guidance that we can give the countries now on which of these global maps to use or what's pretty much better. And all of these maps that we're looking at, they don't talk to each other. They have different specs as well. So that's pretty much a research area. And with that, I want to pass it to Craig.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Thanks, Sylvia. Just 1 second. This is great work. I will comment a little bit after Craig's presentation. Thanks. Back to you, Craig.
Great, thank you. So as Sylvia mentioned, the Silver Carbon program in Latin America and the Caribbean is implemented by various agencies, and I'll be speaking a little more on what the Forest Service is up to in the region. One of the, I guess, biggest shifts that we've had kind of during and post pandemic is our unit has actually taken on a more holistic view and created what we're calling the climate change unit within Latin American Caribbean program in the Forest Service in international programs. And so of which Silver Carbon is only a piece of the programs. I think Sylvia alluded to some of the other programs that we're working with and providing support through, one of them being the Shuffle Support Hub for Forest, Finance, and Landscape Engagement, a very tortured, almost as tortured as Obi-Wan acronym there. Plus some of the other activities that we are trying to make sure we organize and integrate with or coordinate with are obviously the Forest Service has a pretty big program on illegal logging and trade through various programs, forest fire programs, management programs, etc. So there's a lot of bilateral programs that the Forest Service implements in this region in particular. And Silver Carbon is one of them, and the climate change team is working to coordinate amongst and provide support wherever possible. So for Silver Carbon in the Latin American Caribbean, and we are including Canada, our unit is actually also responsible for interactions between the U.S. Forest Service and Canada. So we have a team basically of experts or advisors, we're calling them, I guess, that work locally with many of the countries on topics that they happen to need assistance with. So that is, for us, is often with sample-based area estimation approaches, obviously our strength in the forest inventories. And what our team perhaps doesn't have capacity in is we go out and we look for an interface with experts, Steve Steinman, George Hurt, a lot of the names Sylvia had mentioned as well earlier, to bring them on board and work with the countries to provide the solutions that they need to do this. So we get support, as Sylvia mentioned early on, between the State Department and the USAID. And also over the years, we've been lucky enough to get specific mission support to enhance the work that Silver Carbon and this other program, a Sustainable Wetlands Adaptation and Mitigation Program, SWAMP, which is, I think, a very good acronym, is working with in the region. And so Sylvia mentioned a lot of the work going on with mangroves. The SWAMP program globally has done a lot of work with mangroves, plus mountain peatlands. And one of the areas that we've been focusing a lot on lately are the lowland Amazonian peatlands. There's a lot of peat stored away in the Amazon. And when we think only above ground biomass, as Sylvia had mentioned with the mangroves, we're kind of doing a disservice to the amount of carbon that's on that landscape, and it could be lost when it comes to any alterations in those ecosystems. And so this is just a smattering of the places where we're working pretty much across in every country, doing something to some level or another. I would now also probably add Argentina and Uruguay and Chile to this list, as we've also picked up and started doing some work, quite a bit of work with them. Next slide, please, Sylvia. Thank you. So basically, we have been working on this targeted technical support. It occurred to me that we talk about support, and we don't exactly define, well, what is that? What does that mean when we're supporting? So that means we're sitting and we're having video conferences with the technicians in the countries, working with their data, providing them advice, crunching numbers, looking at different approaches, just checking their work, looking for better methodologies that are perhaps more cost effective. And we do a lot of this through remote contact, which is, I think, something that people have gotten used to doing over the last few years. But then also there are times when things just need to be followed up in person, where you just need to go there, and sometimes just sitting in a room together for a couple of days is a good way to kind of hash out and solve these problems or challenges that the countries are having. So we do a lot of that, working on many different areas, but obviously forest inventories is a big one. But one of the other areas we've been doing a lot of work with is when the countries are going to work on designing their forest reference level documents, working on and submitting their biennial update reports, etc. Sometimes just having somebody from the outside who's knowledgeable take a look at it and provide some, feedback that they can take and use before these documents get sent out. So we do a lot of that work, and in many of the areas that Sylvia was mentioning as well, of course, red nesting for Red Plus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that I guess I wanted to say is that we've been working hard to integrate with the swamp team and get more of sort of these carbon rich environments added to their nationally determined contributions. And Sylvia's been doing a lot of work on the mangroves. The swamp program in LAC tends to work in the lowland peatland areas of the Amazon and then the Andean mountain peatlands. And so there's been a lot of work getting just basic information. What does it mean when these areas are disturbed? What does it look like when we're trying to restore them, and the impacts on carbon and CO2 emissions from those areas? So there's been a lot of work on integrating across the board to that. Plus, of course, integrating across many of the different programs, of which there are quite a few, and of course, interfacing. I think Maria Cameron, you had mentioned earlier about the degradation workshop, which Silver Carbon was able to lend a hand with, and so we wish to continue doing this. One other area I wanted to mention that is sort of a big push lately, and this is involving multiple people and multiple entities, and mainly financed through the Shuffle program, is we're currently developing a pretty intensive course on uncertainty analysis using Monte Carlo. We've got many file specialists, many Forest Service specialists, many specialists from around the globe working on designing a course that will be online and hope to also be able to carry some out in person, that the countries can sit down and start getting comfortable with doing high quality uncertainty and error propagation analysis for these estimates that they're producing. How, with the goal that the countries, excuse me, stop fearing uncertainty as a bad thing. It's just a tool to let you know where you should focus your resources moving forward. That's one of the messages that we hope to get going and continue to share. Please, next slide, Sylvia. This is just, you'll get a copy of these slides if you want to look. This is sort of our internally work planning kind of areas. These are the areas that we're working with, direct technical assistance and forest inventories. We're actually looking at developing capacities beyond basic forest monitoring. Sylvia mentioned the early warning systems. Another piece is countries still want to develop a system of intensive monitoring sites. And this could take the form of plots or whatever, just to get a better understanding of how these ecosystems behave at a more fine scale, so that then you can take that information into a larger scale. Obviously, reporting is going to be big in the next transition over to the BTRs, right? It's going to be a huge, I think, endeavor and push. And on and on and on. And then, of course, coordinating with. But some of the other things that we've been working with, and I know Sylvia has as well, is the gender initiative. in Latin America and Caribbean. We're working on finalizing our sort of theory of change. So we want to integrate gender into everything that we do moving forward, and we'll be poised to do that. And then, of course, there's quite a few members of the team that are working on research projects that will enhance our understanding and knowledge about or improvements on forest monitoring over the coming years. And that was my last slide, Sylvia. So. I think it was anyways. Yeah.
Thank you
Gracias.
so much to both of you, Craig and Sylvia. Fascinating work. I've heard a lot about mangroves and peatlands, and it's really, really interesting to hear that you have been collaborating in all of the GFOI partners working towards things that have been challenging over the years, even if though realizing that wetlands store more carbon than we ever thought, especially on the ground, and seeing work done in the peatlands and trying to integrate all these estimates into countries' NDCs. This is very, very interesting work. Thank you both. As I said, we will leave the discussion for the end, so I will not go into more at this point. There are some questions in the Q&A, and I see that Maria Carmen has answered some of them that were addressed to her, and I see more general discussion kind of follow up here regarding using the Sentinel imagery, but I would like to leave this for the end and give the floor now to our original and first presenter from Colombia, Diam. Edison, if you could please share your slides and give us an idea of what you have been engaged over the past 12 months. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thanks. Can you confirm if my presentation is ready?
Yeah, we could see it if you could just put it in a presentations mode.
Okay, okay. Now, it's okay?
Now it's great. Yes, we could see it. Thank you.
Okay, good morning for everyone. My name is Ederson Cabrera. I am the forest monitoring leader in Colombia for the forest monitoring system in place at the IDEA, that is the scientific institution related with this aspect in Colombia, and it's an institution involved into the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development in Colombia. I would like to share the basic structure of the forest monitoring system in Colombia. That is structured by components. The first one is the annual base monitoring data, the generation of the official data for forests in Colombia. We established the forest monitoring system since 2012, I think 12 years ago, with the support of Silva Carbon since the beginning. The other critical component for the forest monitoring system is the rewarding component that was launched since 2016, also with the support of the GFOI community and the Silva Carbon program. In the recent years, we structured another important and critical components related with the analysis of the drivers or agents for forest transformation related with deforestation, degradation, and restoration. Also, we recently include a new component that is the forest degradation monitoring, because we recently, I think 3 weeks before, we recently submitted by the convention our updated forest reference level for forest emissions that include for the first time for the forest degradation as activity data in the reference level. And also we include a very important aspect that is related with the community that lives at the forest area in Colombia, that is structured in a specific component for the forest monitoring system related with the community-based monitoring. We also have stretch links with the National Forest Inventory and with the National Greenhouse Gases Inventory also, that is also in charge of the IDEA. Well, I think that that is a more important and critical component is the use of official definition for the forest monitoring system. Colombia, 24 years ago, submitted to the convention the official definition for forests or for natural forests in Colombia that is shown in the slide. But also recently we include other definition related with the deforestation, forest degradation, and forest restoration. And the very critical and important point it's that we structure our digital image processing chain, all of these official definitions, and our image processing is based on of the critical utilization of these definitions. So we structure all of our system related with those definitions. With that in mind, we structure our information scheme generation that is component by 5 principal reports. The main one is the annual reports. That is the official data for the forest monitoring in Colombia. In the last 10 years, we generate 10 annual official reports identifying the critical conservation areas in Colombia for the forest, but also the critical hotspots of deforestation for the whole country in our wall scheme. The second one is our early warning system or component that is structured by 2 reports. The first one is the quarterly bulletin reports. It's quarterly based, using all of the remote sensing data that we have available, using Landsat, Sentinel, Planet, and also other commercial remote sensing catalogs. And with all of this information, we identify every quarter the identification of the principal cause of deforestation, but also a monthly based monitoring for the Amazon region in Colombia. The next one is the weekly reports. Since 2019, we beginning with the generation of the early warning by weekly based analysis, also using all of the remote sensing catalog available, using Landsat 7, Landsat 8, Landsat 9, Planet Scope daily and on the monthly basis, and also Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 catalogs. With all of that information we generate in the past 3 years, 262 weekly reports as input of control actions at the field in Colombia, in a very close relationship with environmental authorities. That reports identify the principal patches of deforestation in the principal cause of deforestation of the whole country. Also, for the requirements of the environmental authorities or jurisdictional authorities, we generate monthly reports using also high resolution imagery. That report is a technical base to investigate the phenomenon of deforestation and local authorities. And finally, we structured, I think 10 years ago, a platform to identify the effect of the active fires in the deforestation phenomenon, generating daily reports, monitoring the hotspots of fires, but also hotspots of deforestation in Colombia, mainly in the Amazon region, detected by the use of the information related with the MODIS and VIRS data for satellites that generate information 4 times during one day. And with that, we can generate all of the information that the country needs to structure a conservation, but also the control activities for the forest activities in Colombia. For example, actually we are in the dry season for the Amazon region in Colombia, and with the support of all of the information that the forest monitoring system generates, we can to identify First, at the left, in the left map, the principal cause of deforestation, but also the critical areas affected by the forest fires in this dry season. You can see the core 4, core 1, core 2 related with the Amazon areas, and also integrating the daily data comes from Planet agreement available by NICFI. We can to identify very precisely the exactly location of the fires at the field to share this information with the regional authorities, but also, for example, with the police or with the Air Force to control all of these active fires at the field. For example, in this dry season in Colombia. Sorry. Related with the data of the forest cover and deforestation, our last official number is for the 2022 year, but we are in these days beginning the generation for the 2023 official data. With the last official number, we can identify that the Colombia is a forest land. Plus minus 60 million hectares of forest remains in the field in Colombia, more than a highest proportion related with for example, with the planet. In the planet, the forest cover is plus minus 30%, but in Colombia, the forest area, it's plus minus 52% of the land. So this is important and critical ecosystem in Colombia. The main forest area in Colombia is located in the Amazon region. You can see in the right map. 66% of the forest area in Colombia is located in the Amazon region, and also in the Andean region, the mountainous area in the center of the country remains the 19% of the total forest area. Also, other important areas related with the forest conservation is the Pacific border, with the 9% of the total area of forest, the Caribbean with the 3%, and the Orinoquia or the Orinoco Basin, 3%. Also, it's important that the integration of the forest monitoring system with the National Forest Inventory allows us to identify the carbon stocks available for the natural forest in Colombia, that is calculated as 12.5 petagrams of carbon for 2022 with the official data, and established that the Colombia has an important role for the conservation of these carbon stocks for the international concert or international agreements. Nevertheless, the deforestation phenomenon is a very complex figure in Colombia. You can see in the slide the last 22 years of deforestation dynamic in Colombia. In the green columns, you can see the national deforestation, and in the black line, you can see the Amazon deforestation in Colombia. And the plus minus the 60% in average, the 60% of the total deforestation in Colombia is located in the Amazon region, because that the main challenges for the government is to control and to promote the conservation of the Amazon forest conservation with the very precise roadmap until the 2030, including sustainable forest management, mix of carbon markets between government programs, but also private projects related with the private mechanisms for carbon. Also, the deforestation control, the government financing and the incentives for the forest conservation is included in this roadmap to stop and control the deforestation, because the highest goal related with the Paris Agreement for 2030 in Colombia is to achieve a net zero deforestation by 2030. So with these activities included in the roadmap, we hope that we achieve this big challenge. In general terms, as I mentioned before, the Amazon is forest. 85% of the region is covered by forest, but also by other natural ecosystem like natural savannas and for example, tepuyes, that is the herbaceous located in the mountains remaining by the Carton, the last Guyana shield in the center of the Amazon in Colombia. But also, as you can see in the map, the deforestation in Colombia is complex, but for the last official data, we identify a reduction of deforestation like minus 37% compared the last 2 years, 2021 and 2022, identify a big reduction in Colombia, and mainly with the new data for 2023, we can to identify the continuously in this tendency of reduction. Also, we with the use of all of the remote sensing data, we can to identify, for example, the increasing of the natural events related with the forest loss in Colombia. It's not I don't know human deforestation. It's natural events that cause forest loss. For example, landslides, as you can see in this image. This is a municipality named La Montañita in the in the northwest Amazon, as you can see in the left in the map. With a very high rainy season, a lot of landslides occurs in this municipality and cause forest loss in very extensive areas, and also the effects of very high winds that makes also forest loss in Colombia, named locally chagras de viento, that is the very highest and very power wind, sorry, that cause forest loss in the center of the Amazon, for example, or in the very far areas in the East Amazon, as you can see in the bottom right in the map. We also identify the most critical drivers of deforestation for that occurs in the country, and as you can see, is main drive by illegal activities. For example, land grabbing. For example, bad practices for cattle ranching in government areas in the forest reserves, but also unplanned growth, expansion, and illegal crops, mainly related with coca cultivation. The real effect of the increase of livestock is a very high pressure for the forest in Colombia. As you can see in the graphic in the right of the slide, you can see the relationship between the accumulated deforestation in the red columns with the increase of the livestock at the municipality level, that is in the orange line. As you can see, the correlation in some cases perfect. 1 hectare accumulated with 1 cattle new cow in the municipality. And with that in mind, we established a very extensive reconversion of cattle ranching activities for other activities related with forest management, for example, in some areas of Colombian Amazon. Also, we identified the real effect of the road expansion related with deforestation. For example, this is the Guaviare department that is located in this part of the Amazon. Maybe you can see my cursor. This is the Guaviare department. And in the Guaviare department, plus minus 94% of the total deforestation is close 1 kilometer of the new roads that is established in the field. And with that in mind, we generate an indicator that identify that every new kilometer of road expansion is related with 26.5 new hectare of deforestation in the Guaviare department. Because that we also identify in the control of deforestation the control of the unplanned expansion of the roads in the Amazon region, because it's extremely related with the deforestation processes. Also, with the support of the for example, Silvacarbon and GFOI expert, we enhance our capacity to generate alerts of deforestation. This is the mainly issue for us to control deforestation. We can show in the presentation the estimates of deforestation in a monthly based analysis for the entire Amazon region in Colombia, that identify the principal cause of deforestation weekly by weekly, monthly by monthly, and consolidates in a year. Also identifying the more complex area to identify the needs of established control activities in the link with the regional authorities. Also, with that, for example, the ministry shows to the government for the country the principal trends of the early deforestations in Colombia. And this is for example, our most recently report for the last December that identifies the reduction of deforestation in 2023 by 69% for the Amazon region, that identify the effect of the activity that the government established in the field to stop deforestation. Finally, some reflections and
I'm really sorry, Ederson, just
Yes.
jumping here. If you could please just wrap it up, because at the beginning I was
Yes.
worried that we'll have
It's
enough time, and now
it's my last
Emma is
slide.
worried that
Okay.
he won't have enough. So thank you so
Yes.
much. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, this is my last slide. Some reflections. We need to maintain the effort through a highly trained and updated technical team. For our perspective, the most critical point to maintain the effort monitoring system is to maintain a very trained team to generate that information. Also, assure the frequent and detailed flow of remote sensing data, for example, the planet or the other high resolution images for the early warning components, and also integrate the land use change, non-forest and forest monitoring to the greenhouse gases inventory, and promote the availability of growth of processing, because as you can see, it's a lot of data to process. And so we need extend our capacity to process all of this data. Thanks to everyone to hear our presentation, and we are very ready for questions, something like that. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ederson. And as I said, I'm sorry I had to intervene, but we are a bit short on time. That should not, however, affect our last presentation for today, and it will be given by ML Charrington, and he will be talking about all the activities on the severe side. ML, please go ahead and share your presentation. I can.
Thank you, Elliot. I can't yet share my screen. I think Ederson has to.
Yeah, Ederson, you need to stop sharing, because we cannot have two people at the same time. Yeah.
Thank
okay.
you so much, Ellie. And
don't worry, you don't have to speed through that. You have the 10 minutes. Don't worry. We will just wrap up the discussion a bit quicker. And I would like to also encourage all of the presenters, if there are any questions that I have been seeing coming in, please answer as many as you can online. For whatever is left, we can include in the discussion. Thanks. And I'll step back and give Ederson, ML the floor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ellie. I hope that everybody can see my screen, and I hope I'm not jinxing it. I've been kicked out of the Zoom a few times, but just kind of going into it quickly, I really enjoyed the previous presentations from the FAO, from Silvacarbon, definitely from Ederson just now. I'm just going to go really quickly about what I'm going to be talking about. Again, just give you a snapshot of some of the things that we're doing in the Severe Network, specifically as pertains to Latin America and the Caribbean in particular. So first off, the Severe program, it's a partnership between USAID and NASA. It's been going on for almost 20 years. And our focus is on different regions across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And we focus on multiple themes. Nonetheless, one of our big things is that we talk about how we're trying to connect science and end user needs. And so one of those things, just to highlight, is that we have a huge network, and we actually do quite a bit of work with some of the partners that you've seen in this, such as the FAO, such as Silva Carbon. But just to highlight that with Servier, we are leveraging private sector tools, public sector work, etc. And again, just in the interest of time, I'm going to speed through some of this. And again, just as mentioned before, we're doing work in South America. We're starting up work in Central America. Notice that there are a number of participants online from Central America who will, I guess, shout out. West Africa, East Africa, and different parts of Asia, like Southeast Asia and Hindu Kush Himalaya. One of the other things, as mentioned before, we had this really nice presentation from Sylvia and from Craig on behalf of Silva Carbon. And just to say that on the NASA side, we also contribute to Silva Carbon. And in fact, a few years ago in 2019, jointly with Silva Carbon, we put together something called the Servier Silva Carbon SAR Handbook that was about providing some guidance, maybe kind of on the research side, as Sylvia was getting at, about how countries could use synthetic aperture radar data in their forest monitoring workflows and protocols. But again, in the interest of time, afterwards, I'm sure Ellie and Tom and colleagues will share these slides, so you can always find more information on our website. One of the things I do want to highlight, though, so again, we have this global network. Through NASA, we have a competed applied science team. We're actually now in the 4th cohort of that science team. And so we actually have 7 projects in the different regions across the world, focusing on things related to land cover and forest carbon. And specifically in Latin America, we have 2 projects led by colleagues who are also affiliated with the NASA Carbon Monitoring System. They're Michael Keller and Isaiah Numata, and they're doing projects focused on the Amazon region, where they're using, among other things, spaceborne LiDAR data from JEDI, which you heard Sylvia also highlight a bit, for looking at carbon stocks and forest degradation in the Amazon region. And their work is being done in coordination with CIAT, which is the lead for our Servier Amazonia hub. And again, I'm not going to get into the full details of some of what they're working on. Some of the other things you heard Craig mentioned, OB1. OB1 is actually implemented by Sean Healy from the U.S. Forest Service, who's also one of our Servier Applied Science Team PIs, although focusing on the Hindu Kush Himalaya region. And for that project, Sylvia is actually a co-I. Another thing just to highlight, we've heard a lot about the work that different institutions are doing, I guess, in Latin America proper, but our colleagues at Servier Amazonia, besides being focused on the Amazon region, also recently completed some work in the Caribbean, where they were focusing on strengthening capacities in using different tools for decision-making in the Caribbean. And again, I'll kind of highlight some of those things there. The countries that they were working on included the Bahamas, Barbados, the Dominican Republic, Trinidad and Tobago, and on the South American mainland, Guyana and Suriname, which are also members of CARICOM. And again, some of the themes that you have there, but basically across the different countries that they were focusing on, capacity and land cover monitoring was something that was brought up. And so at the end of this work that ended last year, and I think took roughly 1.5 years to implement, they did work with 106 participants in 5 different countries and implementing different types of applications, including ones focused on using data from Planet and NICFI, using cloud-based tools like Google Earth Engine, and just recognizing colleagues like Flavia and Luisa, who are also joining us from Planet on behalf of the Planet NICFI program. Also, one of the things to mention in terms of the coordination with Silva Carbon, last year, jointly with Silva Carbon, we put on a workshop in Guatemala, along with Kenset Rosales, who I see is also here on the call. And the idea of that workshop was to leverage different cloud-based tools through Google Earth Engine. And so algorithms like BulkD from McGill University, Landtrender from Oregon State University, CCDC from Boston University. And it looks like my my audio dropped, and I might have to share screen again. So just give me a moment. I was
Yes.
we had done a workshop in Guatemala last year in coordination with the Silva Carbon program. and again, focusing on some of the same kind of topics that Silva Carbon does. And so it was, really focused on, again, how the government of Guatemala could integrate different techniques into their workflows. And then just to say that in October of last year, we also followed that up with a workshop in Belize, again, focusing on similar types of algorithms, and then also integrating other data sets, as mentioned before, like NICFI from the Planet NICFI mosaics, also JEDI data, and focusing again on how the government of Belize is planning to integrate this work into their future biennial transparency reports. And this workshop, we also had the benefit of focusing not just on Belize, but we also had participants from Guatemala as well as El Salvador. Again, just in the interest of time, not going to go into all of that. But going back to something that Ellie highlighted, which is the importance of how all of the work that we're doing across the broader land cover monitoring network factors into different policy instruments and reports. One of the things that we saw just last month, the government of Belize did submit their updated forest reference level report. And we're pleased to see that GFOI, Planet, NICFI, Silva Carbon, Surveyor were also highlighted in that draft report, which I believe is still under review by the UNFCCC. So again, great to see that the work that we've been doing has filtered up. And then starting to wrap up, just to highlight that one of the ongoing things that we're doing is called the Surveyor Carbon Pilot, which essentially leverages land cover data and combines it with data on carbon stocks, AGB, remotely sensed, to then get, again, estimates of forest carbon stocks as well as emissions. And the very last slide to say that we've done a number of capacity building activities, including the ones in coordination with Silva Carbon, like the workshop last year in Guatemala, but also doing ones in other parts of the world, a workshop in Cali, Colombia, in coordination with Surveyor Amazonia, work done in other parts of the world outside of the Americas, such as Ghana, Southeast Asia, and then noting that Marilyn Calvo from the government of Costa Rica is here. She was the host for the AmeriGeo Week event in Costa Rica last year. One of the things that we did put on was a virtual training on the Surveyor Carbon Pilot in coordination with the AmeriGeo Week event. And just to say that, again, one of the things that we try to do with Surveyor is connect with existing efforts and initiatives, engagements with things like AmeriGeo, AfriGeo, etc. And so with that, come to the end of my presentation. Just say thank you, everybody, for your time. And I guess I will turn it back over to Ellie. Thank you.
Wow, I'm impressed. I think I speak fast, but Emma, you just outdid this. Thank you so much. This was the fastest presentation I've heard, and so well summarized all the work Surveyor's been doing. I mean, this was work for the past year, but I know you guys have been very involved. And so right now we have very little time left. Again, sometimes, we worry about things that at the end of the day being not to be worried. So I thought we'll have too much time and to have discussion. Now we're down to 5 minutes. So I don't want to take any more time. For the sake of keeping this at the right timing, I know all of us have other meetings and places to be and go. There are a lot of questions in the Q&A submitted by the participants. We have over 70 people online still. Some of them have been answered. Some of them might be left for later to be answered, but there's a discussion going on. I would like to kind of point to that maybe. There's one thing I would like to say, and not to take everybody's time, but throughout all the presentations, and I would like to thank all of you, Sylvia and Craig on the Silva Carbon side, and Ederson from Colombia, also Emil and Maria Carmen, all of you for your great presentations. And I've been listening, and one thing that keeps coming back is like all the great work that not to pack the GFOI on our backs, but the collaboration that you are able to establish to work with each other, different partners, and not just work, but really right now it seems like we're seeing the fruits of all the work that we've been doing in this coordination. And the last thing that Emil said, countries updating their forest reference levels, using everything that's been taught, all the workshops that we've been doing over the years. And now the slides that Craig was presenting regarding, including mangrove mapping and peatlands into the countries NDCs. All this is just great to see, and I would like to thank all of you. If any of you have a comment, any of the presenters, please, that will be the time. If any of you would like to answer questions that haven't been answered online, please just do so. And I'll keep very short, minute or two, just to close the third GFOI information exchange session on LAC. But before that, even though we have little time, I would like to still give the floor to the presenters. If you'd like to comment on all the work you have been doing, is there some issues that GFOI on our side we could be more of assistance? I would also like to mention right now, while I have most of you still on the call, is my colleague Madison will put online 2 links. One is with the GFOI LinkedIn site, where you can see updates, you can see a lot of the things that are going on, and also the traditional access to the GFOI website, where you could look into the inventory of activities. Right now, we're focused on the LAC region. Of course, the other regions are also represented, but please feel free to zoom into the LAC region, see the updated list. And if you see something that's missing that you have done, activity that we have not updated, please get in touch with us. We'll be very happy to make sure everything is online and it's accessible to our partners and to countries. So that's very fast also from me. And I see a hand up. Emil, please go ahead and jump into the discussion. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much, Ellie, for that question. And I guess maybe one thing to kind of highlight is as you're getting at, I think we're really standing on the backs of giants in the terms of the earlier efforts that have been done. That maybe I think a point of order, as you just mentioned, is we really need the GFOI inventory of activities to kind of capture not just current activities, but past activities. One of the other people that I didn't get to highlight in my presentation, who I see online, is Dr. Abner Jimenez from GIZ, who previously had led a work called the Red GIZ, or Red CC80 GIZ project, which was in Central America, where they actually laid a lot of the groundwork in teaching getting countries into a lot of the land cover monitoring work. And again, would like to see some of those past activities like that, which maybe might not be ongoing, still referenced in the GFOI inventory of activities, which was also highlighted in some of the earlier information exchanges. Thank you, and back to you.
Thanks. Yes, we do have some of the back activities. They're just listed. It would be very nice if and maybe I'll take this upon me because Tom's plenty busy, but it would be nice to maybe on our end get in touch and see what you have to list. We can see what's been done and what is, as Emma was saying, it's nice to look at past activities because that identifies the partners in the back. Some things, I mean, we're coming to some moments where some assessment need to be redone. So what has been done in the past really could be of value to that. There was a discussion follow up here in the Q&A regarding the use of Sentinel data. Maybe Maria Carmen, thank you so much. I see you have answered. Maybe this could be something to get back to. The use of very high resolution data such as Sentinel on a larger scale presents issues, and we're all aware of that. Maria Carmen, maybe you could jump in and comment on that.
Hi. Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting discussion, and I think Christoph put to do follow-ups because of those challenges, because they are because of the resolution of the imagery could be challenged for countries that usually have short time frames to do their analysis. So that represents a challenge. But they definitely have been using them for quality control of data, to double check information that they have been found with Landsat imagery, for example, and specifically being used for early warning systems. But definitely I will I will share this information and this chat that we've been having with all the team that work with CPOL to do the follow-up of this conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria Carmen. This is really good to see all the questions and comments coming in. And I see here Rocio Condor from FAO. I mean, it was a e-learning course posted that we'll also try to capture and provide. I mentioned something in the in the chat, but I would like to clarify this. I answered it. I'm not sure if everybody has seen it. We will share the recording of this last session, and we will also create a newsletter that will have summary of all presentations. So this too will be available on our website. So please check there, and you all know each other pretty well. But if you do not know, then we can always be the platform to go through us in order to get in touch and check on activities. And as we see here, learning courses, anything that any of you might be interested. So we're past the 1 hour and a half for this session. I don't see any hands up for follow-up discussions. I would like to, at this point, wrap up and thank once again all the presenters. It's fascinating work that you have been doing, and we're really happy to see all the work, to see the countries benefiting from all the years of hard work and workshops done, and actually moving forward to new territories to try to work with peatlands to understand how countries can update their reporting and so forth, the goal from the very beginning. So I would like to also thank my colleague Madison for supporting this call as well. And again, please keep an eye for this recording and for the newsletter coming, as well as if you have any requests or requirements for us to help, like Emil was saying, maybe list some of the past activities and maybe even do it with the point of contact. As it was just mentioned, colleagues from GIZ have done amazing work in Central America. So we will try to work on this and provide more of the past activities on the GFOI website. Thanks again, all of you who have joined us, and we're looking forward to seeing you in some other GFOI activities. Thank you and goodbye.